This video is to introduce the characters for the second set of clothing, which includes dress, skirt, suit, a qipao, jacket, and sweater. There are no radicals to introduce in this lesson, but skirt has an interesting character that I'd analyze a bit before we look at it. Skirt has this character in it, yin, which means government. And it's part of Michael Yin's name, if you know Michael. Yin, government, if you look it up on www.zhongwen.com, one of my favorite dictionaries, even though it uses traditional, it says that this shape comes from a hand controlling as symbolized by this shape, which reminds me of our hand, creepy hand holding a stick, like we've seen in the character for 律师, lawyer, or 奴隶, slave, right? The lawyer hand holding a pen, and the slave, which what I always thought of as a hand holding a broom or some other object to do work with, right? Or the same with wife. But we could also think of it in this shape as someone who is controlled, a hand that controls them, right? And this dictionary is interesting because it shows the breakdown. You can click, here's wife over here, and other different characters that come from it. Here's skirt, right here with the clothing radical. Now, to make skirt, we have to add another character. Skirt is Chuan, and it rhymes with Chuan, monarch. The word monarch has government radical, the hand, creepy hand holding a stick, plus the mouth radical, because the monarch's the one who tells you what the government is, right? Now, skirt, 裙子, the first character you have to trace, has the clothing radical and then the character for monarch. So you can picture whatever monarch is your favorite wearing a skirt, okay? So clothing radical plus monarch for the sound, not for the meaning. 裙子 and then the z, 裙子. 连衣裙, dress, is actually linked cloth skirt because a dress is essentially a skirt and a shirt linked together. The character for link is the only new one here, and notice it has the motion radical with the car radical, and you can think of it like a bunch of linked cars. The next character learned is qipao. Let's look first at the character qi. Qi alone means banners. And if we look at the black part only, we've seen this before. It's the phonetic piece. It means net, qi, and it's a picture of a net that's been driven into the ground. You can see the little stakes that hold it in the ground, and here's the frame. And this part indicates where the net would be to catch the little fish. We've seen this before in xing qi. It's the phonetic part of qi. And we've seen it before in bing qi lin, this phonetic part of qi. Right? So it's easy to remember because we've seen this before, the net part. Let's look now at the other part of banners, qi. The part that isn't qi, this part, has the square radical in it. Remember we learned this square radical means square or plow. It used to look like a swastika. We've seen it before in 地方 for place, or 放学, get out of school. When I first learned this character, I thought its radical was 放. But actually, its radical is the fang plus this piece. This is a radical that means banners or flags, and you put things underneath it to distinguish the characters. We've seen this before in you yong and you xi, and we'll see it again in the characters for travel. 旅游. Flags are often square-shaped, and this looks like a flag flapping in the wind, so if that helps you, you can remember it. The second part of qipao, the pao, has the clothing radical and the character bao, which means bag. We've seen that before in shu bao, and it also means dumplings. You may have seen the Pixar movie Bao. It was this character. The next characters you should know are Maui, which mean hairy clothes. It's how we say sweater. Maui, this is the hair radical, Mao, because sweaters are made of sheep's hair. Maui. The next characters are Wai, Tao. Tao we don't have to worry so much about. It's Wai that's important. Wai means outside, and it has the evening radical, which we've seen before when we learned the character Sui, years old, mountain and evening. So Wai combines the evening radical with the divination radical. This character means divination, which means predicting the future. And this picture is actually a picture of the cracks in a turtle shell, because in ancient China, to predict the future, prophets would carve characters into the flat part, the carapace of the turtle shell, or on the shoulder blades of dead cows. And then they'd take a hot poker and jam it into the turtle shell. Obviously there's no turtle, the turtle is dead. the heat would cause the bone or shell to expand and crack. And then the cracks along this piece would tell us what the future would be. So if a crack ran through a certain character, it would tell them, oh, that's what's going to happen or not going to happen. When I learned about this, I was so excited because I thought, oh, it's asking, should we plant during the 5th moon this year or things like that? No. All these characters are dripping in blood. They're all asking the same thing. Should we sacrifice 300 people from the state of Wei today? And the gods always answered yes. And we know this because these bones are found next to a whole bunch of decapitated skeletons, or drowned skeletons, or burned alive skeletons. It's just horrific. So anyway, divination is a picture of the cracks in the turtle shell bones. Here my students illustrated that. Now why would evening plus cracks, divination, mean outside? Well, you were supposed to do divination in the morning. Doing divination in the evening was outside of the rules. Coming back to the second part of jacket, why? Tao, outer clothing. It has the big on it because jacket's your big outer clothing, and in this shape that only appears in traditional characters, just memorize it as a creepy comb shape. The last two characters are Shi Zhuang, which means suit. Shi means west. We've seen this before in Mai Dongxi, buying things, or Xi'an. And remember we said that this character comes from the idea that birds nest in the west, so it's supposed to be a picture of a bird standing in a nest. Shi. The Zhuang character, you'll notice, has the E for clothing radical underneath it. And the top part is the sound, zhuang. This is just for the sound. This character alone, without the clothing radical, refers to the Zhuang people, which just so happen to have the most amazing yifu in all of China, as far as I'm concerned. Look at that. 你看他们的颜色，他们的衣服很好看. Look at that. Amazing.